on the road, baby, on MMA Junkie Radio with gorgeous. Do it, baby.
Covering MMA sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio. The Mandalay Bay Resort and the fight capital. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's Big John.
Gordon, let's get it on.
From the world in book, you're listening to the MMA Junkie Radio. Fight analyst Dan Jumbo Josh. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Yeah.
And good show off there. I caught the hand with the general manager of Fight Nation 90s, patched in from New York. I don't know, but you know, and then Paige Van.
I know you wanted to.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, really. And Eastern, 5 Pacific. It's a permanent. Patched this in for 2 weeks and our spot, man. So start saving these numbers. 8 Fight 93. I mean, I would have chimed in if I would have, but I would say that Dillashaw versus Cejudo is definitely going to be one of the biggest topics here in the next 48 hours. We're going to have a weigh-in that's going to captivate everybody in about 12 hours or so, a little bit more than that. They're going to be doing things, you know, really early in the morning out in New York, weighing these fighters in, and of course we'll be paying attention, to be fair, to both of them. Cejudo does have one miss in the UFC, and I think a couple outside. TJ Dillashaw says he's never missed weight since the age of 8. But either way, this is the first time he's fighting at 25. In fact, this is probably the first time since he was 8 years old that he was weighing 125. Well, maybe in his teens, I don't know. But we'll be paying attention to that one. There is somebody on standby, Joseph Benavidez, to fill in for should there be any mishaps. But we don't want there to be any mishaps. We want to watch those two champions fight for Henry Cejudo's flyweight title. And we also want Benavidez to fight Dustin Ortiz, a rematch of a fight they had about 4 years ago. At least that's what I want. Right? That's what we all want.
Yeah, we all want that. What did you think of the press conference? I feel like there's so much that came out of that.
Yeah, you're right. Let me just say this. We will be talking to Eric Albarracin, the head coach for Henry Cejudo, in about 15 minutes or so. And then in the second hour, we'll be talking to Nasrat. Yeah, Nasrat Haqparast, a German fighter who's really, really fun to watch. If you've never seen him fight, I really like watching him fight.
Oh, yeah.
2-1 in the UFC, 10-2 overall, as well as David Branch, former WSOF. When they were WSOF, he was a simultaneous champ, so he was their middleweight and light heavyweight champ. And I think he actually had some title defense. I tip my hat to the little run he had when he won 11 straight prior to rejoining the UFC. They'll join us in the second hour. All right, your question goes, the press conference was very interesting.
That's one of the better ones they've had in a while.
Yes, and it's right down my alley. It's my style. And where do you want to start? Because I think there's a lot to cover here.
Start at the top?
Yeah, sure.
Main event? And work our way down?
Sure.
I mean, there were fireworks all the way around, but I thought some of the mental warfare in this press conference was pretty interesting. Hearing, like, Henry Cejudo, I hadn't heard him take this approach yet, but even kind of saying that he's going to shoulder the 125 class, and how can TJ Dillashaw even want a fight like this? It means it's going to put friends of his out of business, like Joseph Benavidez, the name that you just mentioned. Mm-hmm. I thought that was kind of interesting to kind of switch things around like that. What'd you think of that?
Well,
the following?
I thought a lot of things. First of all, I really appreciate his effort. I mean, I think that's just a great narrative. You know what I mean? Like, not only am I defending my title, we've actually gotten away from the fact that this is his first title defense from taking the belt from the immortal, it seemed like, Demetrius Johnson. But this is his first title defense, but yet we're all talking about, like, he's the one that's going to either help the flyweights survive or not. So I like that. I think he's putting pressure on himself, but not pressure that he can't overcome. I think Henry Cejudo is very mentally tough. I think he's been through, big stages like this one before with the Olympics and fighting Demetrius Johnson. So I really like his position there. TJ kind of got boxed into a corner where he's going to come out maybe a little bit of a heel because he's
used to it though, right?
Yeah, the snake thing, but he's a likable guy if you think about it. First of all, if he wins and the division goes away, that'll be placed on him. He's a big boy. He'll get over it, but he does have a couple homies, including Joseph Benavidez, as flyweights. However, what about the fact that Cejudo told him, Benavidez called me and told me I'm rooting for you? Whether that's true or not, I didn't hear Dillashaw say anything in particular for a good few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reaction. I wonder if that messed with him, whether that was true or not. Because those guys are two homies, former teammates, they were former teammates at Team Alpha Male, but even post Ludwig Faber, fallout.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was here in Las Vegas or in Colorado, these two guys both utilized Dwayne Ludwig. I'm talking about Benavidez and Dillashaw. And I always felt like they were fans of each other. In fact, years ago, 4 years ago or so, Dillashaw once told us he'd like to drop to 25 and that Mendes would drop to 35, but that was Joseph's division and he was on a run. Again, 4 years ago. Now, I'd be shocked, but did something change? Or was this just Cejudo throwing it out there, and now it's left for us to speculate?
That's the thing, is just throwing it out there kind of plays that game. And you're right, it probably turns some fans against him. You never know. But Josh, you have a cut of that. Can you play the number 6 one?
Everybody, my worst enemies. Even Joe Benavidez is cheering for me. I mean, it's at that point. I mean, this was his main training partner. He's like shaking my hands, like, "Hey, I'm rooting for you, man." It's like, damn, this is the guy that I had bad blood with. I mean, DJ Matt Hume, they send me a text like, "Hey, we're cheering you on, buddy." I mean, it's overwhelming.
So we can kind of see what exactly he's thinking, and I think he's trying to paint a picture with this guy. I think he's trying to win over some fans.
Right.
And he takes another approach to it. And do you remember the association that he was trying to do?
Yeah.
He even did that. Can you play that clip, Josh?
This is personal because there's a lot of people out there. This dude is a guy that was trying to start the union with the UFC to getting paid a shitload of money to get rid of the division, sicking him down to dethrone the reigning champ. I'm doing this, TJ. I'm not doing it just for me, man. I'm doing it for everybody. I'm doing it for all the 125.
And that's your problem. I'm doing this for myself. This is a selfish sport. I'm going out there and I'm winning for myself. I'm gonna be the greatest.
And that's exactly who he is. And that's exactly who he is. You have friends like Joe Benavidez. You have guys like Shorty Torres living with. These are all flyweights, bro. Where's your respect, man?
So he played right into his hands. And you can even hear it in Henry's voice. He was happy that he got that response. Right. So what he did was he got the fans to turn on him. He got the flyweight division to turn on him.
And he cozied up to Dana White, too.
Exactly. Your boss. And I don't care if you shook his hand before you walked on stage. If you bring something like that up in front of your boss, there's going to be a part of him that's going to go back to that time and place and go, that motherfucker. Even if it's for a little bit.
That's
he turned three different groups of people on him all at once. And TJ gave him the response that he probably wanted. And that's right. I'm in it for me. I don't say I don't mean that that's a bad way of looking at things. But I would always say, if that is the way you're looking at it, maybe I would probably try and keep those cards to myself as long as I possibly can. Because nobody ever really hears it and goes, that's cool.
Right. Now, continuing on with cheerleading for Henry Cejudo, I'd like you to play this cut, Josh, number 7. In this one, he kind of puts Dana White on the spot, asking him to guarantee that if Cejudo wins, the flyweight division exists. Now, he says respectfully, and then he gives an example. So, again, going back to well played, Henry Cejudo. He actually hit a few check marks that were really, really nice. And this is an angle that doesn't really have much to do personally with what's going on with T.J. Dillashaw, but it's another one that he does with Dana White. Cut 7, please, Josh.
With all due respect, Dana, with all due respect, he did at one point say that they would never enter in the sport of MMA. Ronda Rousey became one of your biggest superstars. You know, I know there's a place in your heart. What I'm saying is, let's make a deal. I beat this man Saturday night. The flyweight division stays.
Yeah. We'll see what happens on Saturday.
Now, Dana's usually never at a shortage of words. That was the safe thing for Dana White to say. You know, because on Saturday, I'm sure, like, what if this thing sells 700,000 people? Well, sorry, there wouldn't be that. But what if this thing just blows up on ESPN Plus, and then all of a sudden we're back in business? So he kind of allows himself to play the hand on Saturday night. Could turn out to be Ngannou versus Lewis. Everybody's yawning, everybody's tripping. But I thought Henry Cejudo was pretty masterful at times in this press conference.
Now, what I enjoyed the most about this press conference is it went from the fights to other things, right? Like Colby Covington was brought up, Kamaru Usman was brought up, but Ariel Helwani had follow-up questions from ESPN as far as why Dana just can't commit to that, whether 125 will be there or not, and the effect that it has on the fighters. And he really pressed him. I mean, he must have asked him like 3 follow-ups where Dana was just kind of forced to say, look, dog, that's my answer. Leave me alone. But just the whole thing was it was one of the most entertaining ones I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. He was really holding on that answer, which was kind of upsetting. You know, you look at everything that's on the line and whatnot, and the whole "we'll see" answer, and it's tough, man. I really want to play devil's advocate and defend Dana, but it's harder to do when it comes to a lot of these things. And I don't know about you guys, but that was kind of just a really, kind of reminded me of the article Ben Folks, I think, penned about last week or maybe the week before about, Dana White and his attitude toward fans. And it kind of just really smack true in this press conference. And, I'm interested to hear more of your takes on Cejudo, George, because I agree in the sense of I think it's what he needed to do. He needed to show strong because he is representing a division, whether I know TJ had his own things to say about that, and whether or not you agree with TJ, maybe he should focus on himself, and it's a selfish sport. I feel like Henry's in a weird spot where he almost kind of has to, and I admire him for doing it. But a lot of the stuff, I almost felt, on the other hand, it felt like it was ringing dry to me when he was kind of trying to come and one-liners, or obviously with the snake we'll get to, I'm sure, but I don't know. I got a mixed feel. I don't know.
Well, I guess I don't know. I thought he did very, very well. Cejudo, right?
Yeah, Cejudo.
I thought Cejudo. Yeah. I mean, when you're up there for 45 minutes, I suppose maybe not everything is going to go super smooth.
Right.
But for the most part, I thought he had a good representation for himself. The snake was silly, but we're media, we're hardcore fans.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of goofy people out there that kind of got a kick out of it. And, I've come to realize goofiness sells. You know what I mean? And so I think there's a lot of people out there just laughing their asses off. Oh my God! He took a page from Conor McGregor. He's a snake. Blah blah. And maybe that'll turn into a meme. I don't know what'll happen. But overall, I was impressed.
I'm sure if we also look back, like him, how he came off on that season of Tough, probably much improved. As far as speaking and whatnot too. So yeah, I'm definitely not trying to take away, but anyways.
Dillashaw. What'd you think of? I thought. What'd you think of the way he was dressed? Start with that.
It's funny, I don't know if it's the thing like fighters more embracing it. We rewind back to the day where remember George St. Pierre was the outlier, dressing nice, and kind of started that trend, right, guys? Now it's taking a whole new. Conor obviously took it to a whole nother level. Now we have guys doing that. And I don't know. I wonder if it's kind of what Go said earlier. He kind of nodded to about T.J. Dillashaw embracing the snake roll, embracing the heel roll. I wonder if that was a part of that because he had the glasses and the long.
I was wondering if he was masking with the glasses, the face, to just get away from being drawn out. And this guy looks terrible. His cheeks are.
Do you think he looks that bad though? I was looking at him.
Really.
If I didn't know he was a fighter,
right.
I'd just say that's kind of maybe a thin guy, an in-shape guy.
Yeah.
He's going to look worse come way in time.
I know.
But right now, he's just like a fit guy.
And did you see Cowboy was suffering, but TJ wasn't? TJ was actually lively, and
Yeah.
Cowboy was
good.
actually admitting that, because this is his return to lightweight, and he was, you could tell, man, he said, I got 10 to go, but he was being testy, and Alexander Hernandez was testing him.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Which is maybe our little segue there. Your guys' thoughts on that little exchange?
Well, I think Alex really got in his head, because early on you could tell that Cowboy just didn't want to respond to it. He just said kind of like, that's not really my thing. I do my... But Alex was able to get him to respond and get him to swing back. And I think because of that, you have to look at it as Alex won that round.
What do you think, Dan?
It was impressive. I mean, it's not just a shtick, if you will. He is confident, but at the same time, whether it was anything prepared or not, you know, I was really impressed with some of the things he was saying. You know, he made an Oval Office, so like kind of a jab, but more importantly, the prepared stuff you can go prepare, but it's that on the spot stuff. And there was a spot, you know, I believe Joshua has it getting queued up here for number 3, where it was a response. It's how you respond. I think someone was on the show, you know, probably within the last couple weeks or so, was saying, I'm not a good trash talker to us, right? I'm not good at responding on the spot, and that's fair. I think it's fair to admit, and it is something that's really tough to do, right, guys? Improv or just pulling up something to talk about, much just being witty. And Alex Hernandez, Alex 3. Alex Hernandez, you know, says something in response when Cerrone's kind of citing his goals, reaffirming his goals, why he's back at lightweight for a title. He's serious this time. He's gotten close before, but now, you know, his son renewed him, and it was kind of a very genuine and awesome, honest answer. But man, Alex Hernandez just takes it in a different spot. Josh, do we have that ready?
Be a fight if it took you that long to figure out what your goals are and that you're meant to be a champion. You're about 39 too fucking late. For me, I've known why I'm in this. I know why. I know my purpose. I know my mission, and I'm 100% committed to one thing. Unlike old day drinking Don over there, who's got mixed mistresses and a number of extracurricular activities to hide from the greatest fear in his life, which is in front of him, I focus on one thing and one thing only. I know I'm going to be a champion. He's number 2. He's always been number 2. I'm going to be number 1.
And let me add something to that, guys, just real quick, is that when we've seen guys successfully get in their head, like Jorge Masvidal, Nate Diaz is some of the best in the game, I don't know if any of them have ever come that strong at Donald Cerrone.
Cold, hard truth, though, to what he was saying about farting around, about whether I'm an entertainer or I'm a this, and now all of a sudden you want to be a champ, and the other guy's telling you straight up, I'm going to be a champ. So, cold, hard truth, it got under Cerrone's skin, and it worked. All right. We'll discuss a little bit more of that. We'll have some pockets later on in the show. Right now, we got to take a break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back with Eric Albarracin, the head coach for Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo defends his UFC flyweight title versus TJ Dillashaw, the UFC bantamweight champion, who's coming down to 125 for that challenge. What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, what's going on, gorgeous George? How are you? Good to hear from you.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you for having me on your show. And can I make a correction? The victorious corner.
The victorious corner. All right, he's putting the prediction out already. What round are you guys going to be victorious in? Have you guys pinpointed that yet?
You know what? I'm thinking around 3.
All right.
About the 3rd round is when Henry's going to start getting into his flow and put those hands on him.
Uh-huh.
Hands and feet, his wrestling, elbows, 8 limbs.
How much has Henry changed since being a world champion? They say that changes you, success and fame. Did you have to reel this guy in, or has he been a pretty a pro since winning that title versus Demetrius Johnson?
No, you know what? To tell you the truth, it's everything's been smooth sailing since. Like, this camp has been the best camp he's ever done, and it's something funny is that ever when he lost to Demetrius, he really didn't sleep for 2 years. And ever since he beat Demetrius, he says he sleeps like a baby. So that was really weighing him down. And, you know, you could just tell that Henry hates to lose because of that. And now he's just been sleeping well, recovering well. He's training better. He's sleeping better. He's eating better. This is the best I've ever seen Henry, which is crazy because the last fight, he beat the greatest fighter of all time, Demetrius Johnson. And I could honestly say he's about 10 times better than he was since his last fight.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's scary.
That's amazing. A lot of these fighters, when they start stacking some paper, get a little bit of fame, more followers on social media, more important people want to hang out with you, or famous people or whatever. All of a sudden, you're missing a couple of workouts here or there, and blowing people off, not answering the phone. But you're saying this guy's even more dialed in than before.
He's more dialed in. You know, the last fight he had a chip on his shoulder. He got that revenge, but now he's competing with passion and purpose because he's here to save the flyweight division. So he's focused.
Do you like that pressure of him carrying the whole division on his back versus just him? I mean, a title defense is pretty challenging as it gets, you know, and plus he's facing another guy that's a champion, so you know that guy's also dialed in. But the fact that there's this narrative with him saying, hey, I'm also doing it for the division. DJ called me up. Matt Hume called me up. Benavidez shook my hand, and he's rooting for me. Is that pressure that he needs to have?
You know what? Henry doesn't feel pressure. He delivers pressure. Pressure bursts pipes or creates diamonds. And we already know what Henry's is. You know, Henry's has proven it time and time again. And we could put the flyweight division on his back. We could put the gold medal on the table. We could put the flyweight strap on the table. And we'll put it all up against that bantamweight strap. And let's put it all together. And let's him and TJ with a super fight of 2019 and see who comes out the winner. Winner takes all.
Eric Albarracin, our guest here on the MMA Junkie radio show. Not only does he have a world champion in Henry Cejudo, he's also got Patricio Freire, and of course the other Pitbull, Patricky Pitbull Freire. He also bangs. This guy's had a good year as a coach. You got to follow him on Twitter at CPT, short for Captain Das Americas. That's his Twitter handle. All right, goes. What do you have for Eric Albarracin?
Eric, a couple interesting things.
Hey, don't forget Paulo Costa, the Eraser. We're coming for that title this year in the UFC. I plan on having 4 titles, 2 in Bellator with the Pitbull brothers, Henry, obviously, and Paulo Costa. What's your question?
Right on.
A lot of interesting things came out of the press conference today, and one that I noticed from Henry Cejudo's side was just, I never thought about him carrying that 125 class on his back and kind of like the destiny of it, the pressure that could come along with that. And I wanted to know, when Dana White was asked that question, like, can you at least just give us a direction? Would having knowledge of that helped Henry in any way, like relieve maybe some pressure from him?
You know what? I don't know. You know, Dana was, he kind of wasn't answering the question. He was kind of blushing a little bit when Henry said, let's make a pact. I wish Henry would have stood up and shook his hand and grabbed it and made him make the pact. But, you know, like I said, Henry doesn't feel pressure. I don't think it matters. Henry's going to go in there with one one goal on his mind, and that's to run through T.J. Dillashaw.
I know you're heavily involved in the game planning for the fight, but what about the press conference game plan? Because we were talking about that earlier, and there were a lot of moments that I think Henry got TJ to play into his hands with some of the things, maybe say things that TJ didn't want to say. I thought that was pretty interesting. Is that something that you guys as a team got together and formulated a strategy for, or is that something that just came out of Henry's mouth?
You know we got a game plan for everything. Come on, you're talking to the captain here. We game planned it. We set the traps, and he fell for it, just like we're going to set the traps on Saturday night, and he's going to fall right into it. We're going to chop the head of the snake off as soon as he steps into that trap.
Awesome. All right, Dan Tom, our fight analyst, what do you have for the captain? Be careful, he's setting traps.
Yeah, well, you really got to be careful. I was looking at the captain's Instagram, and he was getting some grappling rounds in New York maybe just a day ago. And you got some moves, Eric. Obviously, you know, for listeners that don't know, you're a well accoladed American wrestler. But I got to ask you, when did you start getting into maybe MMA, not so much MMA, but even, you know, the more submission grappling part of it? Was it around the same time as Henry, or what was your journey toward this madness?
Well, I was a captain in the Army, and I was in charge. I was the officer in charge of Modern Army Combatives, which is the hand-to-hand combat system for the Army. And so that's what I taught at Fort Carson. I had my own program. We had soldiers coming from all over the world to come train with us, and that was my initial initiation into grappling and really self-defense, hand-to-hand combat. But, you know, growing up, you know, I was roommates with, you know, I knew teammates, roommates, you know, Randy Couture, Dan Henderson, Mark Kerr. We all, I was younger, much younger than them, but we all were on the same team, the Sunkiss Kids, California Jets as well. And that's kind of like how I got involved with watching MMA initially. And, of course, watching Hoyce Gracie from the first one. And I think a couple of UFCs after is when the first Sun Devil wrestler started, and that was Dan the Beast Severn. So I've always been watching the UFC and MMA ever since Dan the Beast really got involved. Ever really since UFC 1, but I really got interested when the wrestlers started coming in, like Dan the Beast and Mark Coleman.
And when you link up with Cejudo and you're helping him, you're a part of his Olympic run in 2008, is Cejudo already have his eyes in the mixed martial arts world and maybe even submission grappling, or are you kind of the catalyst there too behind the scenes?
You know, Henry used to always come to my house, so I would have every weekend when they'd have the pay-per-views, I'd have it at my house, and you know, Henry would always come over and watch it, and I would always think that one day he's going to be UFC champion. And even before he even started MMA, I was telling people when I made my trek to Brazil, before he fought one time in MMA, I told them all the UFC champion, flyweight champion is going to be Henry Cejudo one day. So I kind of always knew, I kind of always hoped that would be his path, and he did. He got into MMA, and here we are today.
Cannot wait for Saturday, folks. It's going to be Henry Cejudo, former Olympic gold medalist for the United States freestyle wrestling team, and current UFC flyweight. He'll be defending his title against the bantamweight champion, T.J. Dillashaw, who goes down into 125 pounds. You got to get these fights on ESPN+. ESPN will serve up an appetizer prior to, but you got to get on the ESPN+ because the UFC is going to be doing a lot of their programming in 2019. The ESPN era has begun. All right, you know what, Coach? One more thing. Goes has a quick one for you. Go ahead, Goes. What's that last question?
You know, I've always wondered, just personally, from your perspective, do you ever look at the coach across from you, and do you have kind of like your own personal record where you're looking across and you know, if we were to look at your record, you got to win over Matt Hume technically, right? Are you looking at Dwayne Bang Ludwig and kind of thinking, I'd like to have that skin on my wall as well? Does it get as competitive like that amongst coaches?
Oh, my God. In my eyes, it does. Are you kidding me? They're talking about coming down and killing the flyweight division Saturday night. We plan on bringing T.J. Dillashaw and Bang Muay Thai system to the ground. So, yeah, I look across. I respect him. I know he's got some of the, you know, he has He knows how to detect patterns. I know he knows how to game plan as well. So it is a challenge to go up against him. You know, he is the greatest bantamweight of all time. He was the coach of the year when he was at Team Alpha Male. So yes, I'm very competitive, and I would love to have that victory over him ever since they got that gift when Benavidez supposedly beat Cejudo, you know, a couple of years ago at the Tough finale. So yeah, you know, for Matt Hume, I told you guys that last time, is that I actually studied everything that Matt Hughes told him in the corner for every one of Demetrius's fights, and I did the same for Dwayne Bang Ludwig to make sure that you know how to adapt and see what TJ's going to do before he even does it himself.
Love it. Good stuff, Coach. All right, thanks for the time. I know it's a busy week, and I know the weight cut, you guys are probably starting it tonight, so everything goes smooth tomorrow. So thank you very much for making time for us here on the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Good luck on Saturday.
Thank you, and everybody should download that ESPN Plus app now. Don't wait till the last minute because the system could crash. So make sure you guys download it now, and so the system doesn't crash. But Saturday night, you're gonna see it too. One of the best super fights to ever be seen because these two are at the top of their game and they're in their prime. So it's gonna be probably one of the best fights in the history of the UFC. Don't miss it.
Right on. All right. Thanks, Coach, for the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks. And he's not kidding around. Take care of it now. ESPN Plus. There's nothing to think about. You just have to get it. Either that or you're not going to follow the UFC as closely as you used to. It's only $4.99. And come on, they're giving you a champion versus champion to start things off with a bang in 2019, the beginning of the ESPN era. And they've held up their end of the bargain on a lot of the ESPN shows. A lot of the talking head shows, they've been promoting it, and you see it on the ticker. So kudos to ESPN.
They need to promote things more that way. I completely forgot about that, and I want to say we fell victim to Mayweather and Pacquiao, where we didn't order it till the end, and it ended up crashing or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So we've actually fallen victim to that. I'm actually going to do it tonight just because of that.
And remember, I said this the other day, ESPN Plus, if you get it, the UFC Fight Pass, then you get a 50% break. So if you're paying $10 for the UFC Fight Pass per month, you only have to pay $5 now. So that's the UFC did that for their subscribers. Take advantage of it. Don't go out there and pay $15 when you only have to pay $10. All right, break time. Let's do that. Let's take another break here. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We will be right back.
Bringing you closer to the
To investments, this week's NFL playoff matchups and Super Bowl odds, to tonight's NBA schedule featuring the Thunder and the Spurs, your picks, projections, and analysis to help you benefit our daily debate. Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Press conference, guys. Henry Cejudo, Donald Cerrone, TJ Dillashaw, or Alexander Hernandez? Tom.
Man, it's Henry Cejudo with that snake. I don't know if he was trying to enact the Snake Roberts or you put their get-ups together with TJ Dillashaw's. It looks like
But listening to Alex Hernandez on MMA Tonight this week and then at the presser, he did something that I find very interesting, and you guys could speak a little bit to this better. Shake hands, they'll crack a couple jokes. I remember the Mike Perry. And then even when Dana splits them up, they're still glaring.
He seems like the type of guy that'll get
And everything's just a big distraction. I just see myself facing an insecure little lad swinging on a saddle with a pop gun and a feather in his hat.
Yeah. Real quick, Randy's reference, guys, but does Mark Wahlberg has...
Is that the one with Reese Witherspoon?
Yeah, the preview has him.
It's a really, really good movie, and that's Hernandez, man. He had a home run. There's no way around it. Not necessarily a world champion, but a good, famous UFC fighter. You are lucky if you get to make that walk 20 times to the octagon. A good fighter is going to win at least 15, probably lose 5 of them. And I'm talking about the average good fighter, maybe above average title and kept it for a while. Some that shots and dropped it. And I'm averaging out all 2 in and 2 out. Go with 20. And of those 20, if you go 15-5, good on you. That means you had 20 pre-fight press conferences, but more than likely the first, and great. But if not, that post-fight speech or little chat you have with Joe Rogan or John Anik or whoever jumps into the octagon to talk to you. Now remember, of those 15 wins, what if 5 of them went the distance? They're not going to talk to you. So you have 10 times maybe when you finish someone where the whole world is clinging to every word and you have a chance to grow your social media. Derek Lewis gets creative. My balls are hot. He takes off his shorts. You know what I mean? Others go on a rant like a Mickey Gall. He's almost got a script and he calls someone out. Hell, he's actually calling people out that are below him, but that are famous, and that he knows that person will take an opportunity to fight him, like a Diego Sanchez. And slowly but surely, he creeps up. He's got a good record, and I think he pads, the roots, I guess, so the foundation of his career in the UFC, so that he can't just get cut. People will want him because he's becoming popular. Alex Hernandez, this is only his 3rd fight. I think he has jumped the queue a little bit, and a lot of it had to do with today's pre-fight press conference. If he can back it up by beating Donald Cerrone, finishing Donald Cerrone, and then saying something clever or gangsta or respectful or a little bit of all these on Saturday night, he can become a big, big star.
I agree.
And whether he thought of this himself or his coach or his manager or someone, good on him, man. I mean, this is, I really, really like the way he's managed the short time that he's had, because a lot of people don't even get to that until they get to that 5th or 6th fight. But look at Alexander Hernandez. He grabbed it by the neck.
I'll say this. Even with a loss, as long as he puts up somewhat of a fight, I still think in the long run, this all would be good for his career.
Well,
I still think people will still remember him. They'll still remember him.
If he gets his ass kicked, he's going to take a little bit of heat.
People will remember him just for the sweater. People will remember him. They'll just go, oh, yeah, I remember this guy. Next time he comes around.
But will he be remembered and goofed on? You thought you were a gangster. You know what I mean?
Maybe. I think that doesn't last that long. But
maybe.
But I think he took a big step right now.
And trust me, when you put yourself out there, there is that risk that it all blows up in your face, and all of a sudden, that's the big mouth that thought he was hard, and now where are you? I mean, trust me, MMA fans are relentless when you lose too. So you have to be careful when you do this. A lot of people go out there and do it, and they don't care, and they're willing to roll that dice. Look at Gregor Gillespie, man. He seems to be a type of guy. He wouldn't even stare at his guy. He wouldn't even stare at Yancy Medeiros. So he's keeping with the theme of, I just want to give you nothing, but you're also giving the fans nothing, the media nothing. Like, I love your record. It's nice and shiny. And at some point, we're going to have to cover you if you keep winning. But are you excited? Are you that thrilled? I don't know.
Who are some of these guys that have gone over 20 fights that you feel like maybe have been lost on
Jim Miller.
the shuffle because of things like that?
Jim Miller.
Jim Miller, really?
Gleason Tabao. Different reasons, yeah. Like, Jim
Evan
Miller's
Dunham?
got a cool song. But he goes out there and, like I say, he's got his fair share of wins. Who was the guy? Or no, not TJ Grant. Didn't we say Dennis Bermudez? Like, I thought he kind of had a little bit of a shtick, but I only heard it on our show. Yeah, he did have that world record.
I think maybe Evan Dunham would be a guy that kind of
another
falls
guy.
under that.
Yeah, you know, they racked up a lot of wins, and now they're out of the sport. But I remember Evan Dunham towards the end of his career going, I guess in this sport, you know, you gotta squeaky wheel or whatever. But I don't want fighters to have that reaction when it's too late. I want them to have it when it's time. This is your time. The UFC's pimping you. So get them back. Go out there and make some money.
Here's a more relevant measuring stick to this, an upcoming matchup to what we're talking about. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, guy we mentioned on here before, versus Curtis Millender, a guy we just had again on our show.
Millender's playing his cards very well.
Very well, but, I mean, and I like this matchup. I'm excited for it. It's one of the matchups I'm most excited for. It's going to be action. You can guarantee someone's getting a performance bonus or a fight of the night if it goes past 2 rounds. But I will say, these guys maybe haven't been getting the main card treatment. They haven't been getting. Millender got Thiago Alves.
Were they fighting
he had to come in last minute. I want to. This might be a Brazil fight.
Oh, look at it. Go ahead. Continue.
Either way, I want to make sure it's on the main card. But regardless, I'll be interested to see if they get the rub, because if you're putting those two guys together, I only hope that it's worth it, and then they get the rub to go from what's probably going to be an awesome fight.
Yeah. Agreed. And they're fighting, by the way, in Wichita, Kansas on March 9th. So Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, 20-5 overall versus Curtis Millender, and both of them have really done well for themselves in that welterweight division. That's the one with Derek Lewis and Junior dos Santos at the top of the helm. Hell, let me just scream out the card here, since we're on a roll and talking about UFC Fight Night 146 or UFC Fight Night Lewis versus dos Santos or UFC Wichita or UFC on ESPN Plus. I think this one's going to wind up being 2. It's got those 2 matchups we talked about. It's got Dariush versus Drew Dober. It's got Rocco, Tony Martin versus Sergio Moraes. The return of Big Ben Rothwell versus Blagoy Ivanov. And Yana Kunitskaya versus Marion Renault. That's not bad for Kansas.
Good card.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Yeah. I don't know about Kansas. I don't know about going there, but that's a good card. All right. We got to take this break. It's the top of the hour break. We'll be back in about 75 seconds. You do the math as for what that is. Stay close. Damn. 7 Fight 93. That was a good time, by the way, to sneak in, because we tried calling Nasrat Haqparast, and so far we're not having any luck. It's 3 a.m. to be fair in Germany, but that's what they signed up for. So we'll see what we can do.
How about some German talk that while we wait? That song there, sparked it for me. And I know you guys have your own Germany travel experiences, correct?
All I can think of is Amadeus.
Well, I remember one of my first. I can't remember. It was one of my first cities I went to. I went to a couple in Germany. Mainly stayed in Munich though, and went to visit this castle. And then in front of this castle, they had this this old village. They had this bratwurst little stand right in the middle of the village. I'm like, oh, bratwurst stand smells good. Brings me over, and I go there, and this is weird. Cowboy boots, short shorts, ridiculously buff dude. Got to be built like Kyle Kingsbury, right? But with long metal hair, with a cowboy hat. And one of those 80s Apollo Creed and Rocky where they're running on the beach shirts, the cut hide. He's and he had that song we just came back to, Rammstein Du Hast playing, and he's like, you boys like America, you Americans like Bloodfest? And we're like, yeah, and then he's like, oh, you like Rammstein too? We're like, okay, apologize for it, even though they speak better.
Having to do with Broadway. I think
place we didn't go, right? Okay, I'll take it.
That's the only city. Cologne. We've eaten over. I just told somebody the other day.
Kaiserslautern.
Gelsenkirchen.
We
Leipzig, which was in Eastern Germany at one point.
Okay.
Berlin.
I didn't go to Berlin. I didn't get that far. See.
And it was one of the cities where Mercedes is built.
Wasn't it the one with all the wooden houses, kind of right at on the last day? I think that's where
Stuttgart. I know we went there.
No, that's
yeah.
Stuttgart, sure.
Yeah, I'm positive of that one. See what
Oberhausen.
That's what I would have guessed.
It's not it.
I'm bummed you guys missed Munich because you know what I heard from the locals there, and I don't know if we have any German listeners, guys. You can weigh in on this, and hopefully maybe they can dust off their phone. But I heard that the people in Berlin are more stuck up, and Munich is more younger and vibrant. And I kind of got that because there was a lot of young people. They had their we have First Friday here in Vegas, guys. I was in Munich when they had their version of First Friday, and they had art shows.
How was it?
It was awesome. I mean, I felt like I was in America. They were. They were speaking German, but all the kids also spoke English, or they found out you spoke English. They're very accommodating. What are you doing here? Do you like this art? They're giving you free food and drink, and it was a really great vibe. They're in Scotland, were probably the nicest people that I've met in Europe.
Scotland.
Oh, Scottish people are awesome.
Did you go to not
Baden-Baden? Is it Baden-Baden where they have the Black Forest?
I
where
gotta
you get
my fucking head checked out. I'm forgetting everything.
How long has it been since you've been
there? Not
Glasgow,
but where did Johnny Nielsen live for a year? He always talks about it.
I just know he was in
Edinburgh, Scotland.
Beautiful
Okay,
city.
yeah. That's where I stay. Yeah, it's beautiful. They have a dark castle that looms over the city at night. It's the only thing not lit. It's out of a storybook, man.
Yes. All right, we did Cologne.
Okay.
We went through Leverkusen, Dusseldorf, Dortmund, Berlin, and I remember this because I did a lot of the driving. Leipzig for sure, Frankfurt, and Kaiserslautern.
Kaiserslautern does not sound like a place you want to go in Germany.
And get slaughtered.
Wait, which one's the one that has Gelsenkirchen? The one that has the big U.S. base?
Gelsenkirchen is the first one where we saw Drew Carey.
So Kaiserslautern's the one that has the big base then.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where a lot of the military personnel that serves in the Middle East, and then comes if they have any injuries, they go to. We have a base there. I'm not sure what it's called, but yeah, the hospital's there. I think it's called Ramstead or Ramstein or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But that's where we were in Kaiserslautern, where Goes had the longest walk ever. And then you guys all went to Nuremberg, which has a lot of history with World War II. I didn't go on that one because I got sick, but you went, and apparently that's the train where the fans were going nuts and you guys were laughing your asses off.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Here's one common ground of our German travels, or at least place where you can clean up for me, fill in the blanks, if you will, George.
All right.
I was traveling in the train. You'll know exactly what this is, but me not knowing football or soccer, if you will, was unbeknownst to a young Dan Tom, and I just heard legions of armies of blue jerseys marching to the games, invading the train stations. Could have been. It could have been. Yeah.
Well,
I want to say
where Bayern Munich, one of the biggest teams in all of Europe, resides. They have a lot of money, and they have a lot of popularity and a ton of success. But I don't know that they were blue, so it could have been a
white. It could have been white, maybe.
Yeah, I think most teams will have a white kit.
Okay, maybe it was white then.
But I've seen them a lot in red.
Okay.
And I think I forget what their sponsor
Gray
is.
sometimes.
Yeah. We're ready to go?
No, we have a call.
Oh, we have a call. Okay. All right, let's go to the hotline if you want to follow this caller. It's 877-FIGHT-93. Who do we have, Josh?
We got Ben all the way from New Zealand.
What's up, Ben? How you been?
Yeah, I've been sweet. I've been sweet as Gigi. I thought I might try and talk about some MMA on the show today if you guys feel like it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's do it.
No, I'm just kidding. I missed the first half of the show, so for all I know, you guys just spent an hour talking about it. What I was going to get on with is, if you spend any time on MMA forums over the years, there's always this thing that comes up about what would happen if, for example, the NFL didn't exist and all of those high-level athletes were going to be fighters. And one of the defenses that always comes up is that, well, fighting is a thing that not everyone is built for, and we can't say that every one of those NFL players, even though they're obviously into contact sports, would be into fighting. All I know is down in New Zealand, every single rugby player and every single rugby league player, which is our version of that, loves to fight. Robert Whittaker was a league player, and now what I really want to get onto is this kid Volkanovski is going to go at featherweight.
Volkanovski reminds me of Kano, by the way, in that old school Mortal Kombat movie. Sonya.
I didn't watch it.
I studied. Sorry, but that is interesting. I wasn't aware of that. I'm ignorant to football culture, to be honest, Ben. So I'm probably bad to weigh in on that. I'm sure the guys will jump in here in a second. But that is interesting to hear, guys, that rugby players with the. I mean, not really surprising, I guess, right? That they have a natural inclination for fighting,
right,
and whatnot. But yeah, I'm sure Volkanovski, if we got him on here, to your point, I bet he would have some stories that would back up Ben's hypothesis, if you will.
Especially on all levels, even when you're, from what I've noticed, it's just a club team. They'll get into it on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking about the All Blacks or the Rugby World Cup or anything. It just seems like it is part of that culture. And how about this? Not to dodge your question. If you're also asking for a couple thoughts on Volkanovski, we know Moicano's tied up with Aldo. And we know Max more than likely either gets Moicano if he wins, or Frankie Edgar. But maybe Brian Ortega might want to get back in the mix by taking on a Volkanovski. But if Volkanovski wants somebody off a win, then I guess either Mirsad Bektik or if he wants to revisit that, or Frankie Edgar if Holloway then jumps up to 55. I don't know if you wanted a little bit of a touch on that. But Volkanovski has a nice hand to play. He can either play the waiting game a little bit, or because he proved himself against Mendes. Getting over on Mendes was enormous for him. Or just have to take another fight, depending on how they feel how active the champ's going to be. But there's been a lot of 55 talk for Max Holloway.
If I'm a matchmaker, I'm also keeping Volkanovski against Zabit Magomedsharipov. I like that guy, obviously. We all do. But I think Volkanovski is easily, you can make the case easily, he's the worst matchup for him in the division.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, here's another thing. If you ever want to have a little bit of fun, Ben from New Zealand or Junkie Nation, check out Australian Rules Football. Just type that into YouTube and put Australian Rules Football fights. Those guys are very, very fit and athletic. And not to say rugby players aren't. Rugby players, I think, are just a little bit more put together. So you're going to get a lot of, good fights there. But those other guys, I mean, they are charging and running across and kung-fuing each other, dude.
Is that the 8-on-8 or 9-on-9?
Oh, no, it's more than that. Yeah, it's more than that. They basically just, Australian Rules Football's, I guess, has a little bit of some
I'm thinking
similarity.
of the sevens.
Oh, my God. I couldn't believe I must have spent 2 hours one day on, best of 2015, best of 2016. And these guys are just charging each other. It was some really, really good fights, man. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Ben, or if you're a fan of that.
We used to play it at school, except we'd have to play it on a rugby field. I don't know if you know about Australian rules. They play it on a cricket field, which is a big oval. So it's a weird-shaped field, and they have 4 sticks at each end. And if you kick it between the 2 middle sticks, you get 6. If you kick it on the outside, you get 1. We don't have Aussie rules fields in New Zealand, so we would play it with rugby posts on a square field. And if you kick it underneath, you get 1. If you kick it over the top, you get 6. But Aussie rules players are more like. I called up to talk about MMA, and you've got me onto this, but what the hell, let's run with it. Aussie rules players are more sort of one shape. They're all fairly tall, slim guys. What you get in rugby union, which is the main version of rugby, you get different shapes. That's more like NFL, where you get guys that are real thick neck, shorter, stockier, all power, and then you get guys that are, a bit smaller and a lot faster. So you get a lot more variety of type of athletes in union than you do in Aussie rules.
Didn't they say Volkanovski used to weigh, was it 210 or 230 or something like that when he was a rugby player? He's only like 5'6".
Yeah, he posted another picture of himself the other day. Everybody was doing those 2009 versus 2019 challenges.
Once. I didn't look like that at all.
Stocky dude he was, yeah. All right. Hey, who do you like this weekend, man? Dillashaw or Cejudo?
Dillashaw is one of my, he might be, I'd say John Jones is number one, Max Holloway number two. Dillashaw might even be my third favorite fighter to watch right now. He's, I'll never miss a Dillashaw fight. There's something special about what he's doing with, Bang. You know, the way that he's evolving the game. The weight cut's going to be interesting, but man, Dillashaw seems like he's just a special fighter to me.
Agreed. Thanks for the call, buddy.
There are some of those guys that you just can't miss at certain times. You know who was like that for a while for me when he first went to 170 was Hector Lombard. I almost felt like the Mike Tyson effect for a really brief run there with Hector Lombard when he came and then dropped to 170.
Not only did he have power
Spooky.
and finishing, but he had that aura about him.
Yeah.
Like, he just seemed like the type of guy that you didn't even want to, like, you know, if you hit the button on the elevator and you see him, you're like, I'll get the next one. You know,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just something, like you said,
gladiator paddings on him, tattooed on him.
Right, yeah. Good stuff from Ben from New Zealand. You know, Ben from New Zealand, these new hours aren't convenient for him, but he's making it work.
Yeah.
So thanks for the effort there, pal.
He's the man.
Yeah. All right. You know what I want to do? I think because we've reached out to Nasrat, if he calls, we're going to be in a pickle. So why don't we get one of the breaks out of the way? Let's do that. I think we've played that little shuffle game before, and it's worked out. So let's do that. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close, and we'll be right back. We're still trying to locate Nasrat Haqparast, but we also got David Branch coming up here in about 15 minutes.
to link into the
Okay, I got it. I knew that I spoke NBA earlier, and I said XM87, and I know the NBA channel is 86. But the first read in the first hour was Fantasy Sports Radio. That's my bad, dog. I got it. Okay. All right.
Damn!
ESPN +1, Cejudo Dillashaw. At this point, we're just going to await the weigh-in, right? I think we've talked about that.
Pretty much.
The weigh-in. And
every
then
angle.
Do you think the UFC had domestic violence incidents that were never charged? Saturday they fight, and then Monday we come in here glowing.
And they did still kind of get a few questions about it, and you could tell it really ruffles Dana's feathers.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I agree. Kind of turn that around and make out of it. And I don't know that
structure. People will be questioning the structure, and I totally get that. Why, Greg?
Then guess what? I'm going to give you that second chance. I think that's where Dana's at.
Right.
You know what I mean? And but what Dana has trouble understanding is that might be your stance, but in a house that had it. Eric's also smart, and he knows a little bit to go back to.
Never know anything about it, and she said his situation isn't my situation. They're completely different, and I don't even know the guy, and I have no problem with any of this. So there never was a situation.
Was there ever any pushback from Disney or Endeavor, anyone with whose opinion who matters to you, to not put him on the card?
No.
Question about it. We just knew that. Wait a minute, on the same card. Hold on a second, and of course, prior to, maybe it would have helped. It was a situation. That's why we're talking about it. It wasn't to Rachel, but think about it, man. Young athlete in this sport, calling her and talking to her. There's a good wasn't a part of the call, and I'm not Rachel.
I could see a scenario like that, especially really when you take a look at her record. I would want to play ball in that situation. Your own are yours, and you can keep those to your bad luck. And I think maybe
finishing what he had to say, and it just
I probably shouldn't have said that.
Probably. Yeah. Just like
that, her jaw, everything she had to go through
on a technicality, or I guess technically speaking. What can one say on that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I would want the same afforded big raised eyebrow, because a lot of people know that was.
Yeah, and I was just saying this kind of capstone on the Dana White thing. I don't have a problem, and I agree with in his head. But it almost feels like that, where it's like it's just very like it's gonna be bad if it gets
fucking someone.
Not that makes it okay, but that's
if I was someone's favorite athlete, I trust you, he'd probably find some shit on me too. All right, moving on. Our next guest is David Branch, former world champion at WSOF as a light heavyweight and a middleweight. Man, I really was impressed that he was able to defend in this champ era where they're just saying, I won the title, I'm not going to defend it. It was just for funsies, and let them this guy actually went in there and did work. Now he's back in the UFC, and of course he's had a 2-2 run being back in the UFC, but still 22 wins overall. Some major world titles, and 6 KOs, 7 submissions. I mean, this guy can do it all. He joins us now on the hotline. What's up, David Branch? How you doing?
How's it going, guys?
Good, man. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. Listen.
Be back.
Thank you, man. I wanted to ask you, now as 2019 is unfolding, and you've had about a few months removed from your last fight, tell me about what the blueprint is for 2019. What are some of the names you'd like to fight? I'm not asking for an immediate name right now, unless you have it, but just what are some of the goals you have for 2019? How many times would you like to fight in 2019? And are there any other goals that you do have for 2019?
Absolutely, first off, when I first got into the UFC, I just was like rushing too fast. It's a process, it's not a race, it's a marathon. And, I really needed to reassess, how I do things as a professional. I needed to surround myself around some new people, get new coaches, and just no disrespect to the coaches that I've had. I mean, I've done tremendous work with them, and I love them and I thank them for all the things that I've done. But sometimes it's you have to make certain changes, and I'm at the point right now where I'm making a lot of those tweaks, and I'm going to approach the game at my most professional, the most professional I can approach this game, and this year I want to be really busy. I want to fight like 3 times this year, and I want to have devastating fights. I just want to go out there and hurt people and put on real good fights. And that's what this business is, and it's nothing else. And that's what I do. I'm a fighter, and this is my platform to be able to express myself under those terms. This is what we do. This is the hurt business, and I want to go out there and beat the shit out of somebody, in front of, on national television. And I want to do it 3 times successfully this year, and show the people and remind the people of why I was the 2-time world champion in World Series of Fighting. And those things carry over, and you don't just lose those things, I got my head back in the game, and I'm refocused, and I'm re-energized to fight again, Sometimes, I've been fighting for almost 12 years, and over the course of time, sometimes it just becomes a routine, and it can get pretty boring sometimes, I have new challenges for myself. I still want to be UFC champion, and that's why I came over here. And I know the things that I'll have to do to get closer to that goal. And every day it's just about making myself better. And I know how to come back from bad losses, and I plan on doing that with a bang this year.
Yep. And David Branch does not play around. Let me tell you something. Thiago Santos, stud light heavyweight, right, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Branch has a win over him. Lewis Taylor, he just won $1 million over at PFL. He won the middleweight division. He's got a win over him. Vinny Magalhaes had a really successful run all the way till the finals. We were arguing that he may have been the regular season MVP for PFL. He has a win over him. Yushin Okami, UFC title contender. I mean, Jesse Taylor, who won tough. Paul Ophelia, former WEC champ. He's got some skins on his wall. So I'm anxious to see what 2019 brings. And I want to know, David Branch, is Philly a card you may, when it got announced that the UFC was going to Philly, I was thinking of somebody like you. I know you're not you're not. Your nickname's not the cheesesteak or nothing. That's not where you're from. But you're an East Coaster. So tell me, is location matter to you at all? Would that be a good place to start things off for 2019 campaign?
Absolutely. And I'm really excited to be working with some of my new teammates. Paul Roberson with Killer B and Corey Anderson. I'll still be working with those guys heavily this year. And we'll be pushing the hell out of each other. But definitely in Philadelphia, that's what I'm looking at next. I'm ready to go.
What would you like to bang with that night?
We're working on some things. I don't want to put anything out there right now. But I want to do something that makes sense. And I want to approach this smart and do something that makes sense. And then stay busy right after that. Get right back in it. I'm in the gym, and I'm not going to stop training. It's not like one of those things where I fight, take off. I'm fighting. I want to go out there, fight, and go right back into the gym and start training again,
I respect your answer, but can you tell me at least why you don't like to call out names, or you want to hold on to that? Is that a strategy of yours that's worked in the past to just kind of keep low-key versus a lot of people like George Masvidal was recently on his show, and we talked about Darren Till. Next thing you know, it's out on Twitter. Next thing you know, they're headlining London. So I've seen where it works, but I can respect if you think it doesn't or if you have other reasons for why it doesn't.
No, I mean, we had some names that came out. I think CB Dollaway, Zach Cummins,
Okay.
Just to put it out there. That's what these things are for. I'm open to it. I got to be open to the MMA press and the public. But we don't. I don't really know. If anything is set in stone just yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I know. I'm an old school veteran. I don't think I'm going to get beat up or chewed out too much for putting out certain information. And I don't think that's a bad thing. But I think that the UFC knows where my mind is at. I talked to Nick and a lot of the people there, and they know I'm ready to go. So there that is.
There you go. All right, David Branch, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio. Dan, Tom, what do you have for David Branch?
Hey, David, I was just curious. I always kind of love your state of mind. Obviously, you're refocused now, but people followed your career. You're a very well thought individual. So I was just curious. I guess a 2-part question is, do you ever keep a relationship, as far as a relationship as you can with past opponents, as far as what your feelings are? And more specifically, a gentleman you faced and defeated, Luis Taylor, recently kind of had a nice feel-good story, a comeback, a big victory, a big year on his own. are you happy to see opponents, whether you defeat them or not, go on and have success in the sport as someone who knows how hard it is?
Absolutely. Lewis Taylor is a guy that I respect. Thiago Santos, any opponent that even opponents that I've lost to, Luke Rockhold, Jared Cantnier. I want all of those guys to do well because we're all doing this together. And at the end of it, these guys aren't my mortal enemies. This is just a competition sport, and I understand that we're gonna knuckle down. We're gonna put our best foot forward, but afterwards, we're still human beings. We still got families and things like that. And that's the beauty of our sport, when we can hug each other afterwards and show people that, after we settle our differences, that we're still good people, And so yeah, I like to see guys do well and stuff like that. And I was really ecstatic for Lewis Taylor when he won the PFL management. I told people, and I kept telling people that you think that Lewis Taylor was one of the guys that got me ready mentally for
you, David, or was that be able to carry over
sport rules and things like that, making certain changes that impact the sport?
Yeah, anything that you feel will elevate the sport.
I think the addition of certain help, some leaders, you have certain people in weight classes that they're, and I think that with certain categories, when it gets closer to certain people, that's one of the things that I would do.
I know in 27 fights, I'm fascinated by your journey and the ups and downs and the things that you've accomplished. Throughout that run, though, is there maybe one moment where you could say, before this fight, I took the biggest risk, whether it's training or anything, and it paid off? Do you remember any of those moments in your career?
Absolutely, every time I stepped out there, even and the biggest rewards were the fights that I lost, because even though I didn't gain as much on the financial end, I learned valuable lessons about myself that couldn't be bought with money. So I think that those were worth it, and it taught me a hell of a lot about myself.
David, 2 last questions here, and we appreciate your time. First one is, who will be your new coaches and new gyms where you'll be plying your trade?
I'm going to be working stand-up with Coach Brian Wright, who works with Carl Roberson, who's fighting Glover Teixeira. I'm going to still be working with Jerry Rinaldi with my wrestling at Enzo Gracie Academy with the grappling, but there will be additional coaches and stuff like that, once everything settles up. But it's definitely a new crew of people, man, and it's the right fit. It's what I need. It fits my mentality and what I'm trying to do for this year. So it's going to work out. It's a good marriage.
Now I'm in a pickle because I told him I have 2 questions left. But watch this.
You're alive.
My next question is, can I ask you 2 more questions?
Yeah, of course.
See how I got out of that one? All right.
Good.
So then the one that was going to be my original last question is, will we ever see you at Quintet or Eddie Bravo or Metamoris? I mean, you have a decorated grappling game. A lot of people respect it. And I know that from time to time I've seen some UFC fighters ask for the certain permissions to go out there and compete. Is that something that interests you while you're fighting MMA or even post-MMA?
Right now, I got a good Enzo Gracie teammate of mine, Ryan Gordon, who's out there just tearing it up right now. He's pretty much in my weight class, and I'll lead that to him until he makes his graduation into fighting. I've pretty much done that style of fighting, and I respect it. And I like the way it's building the sport and evolving our sport. But that's not something that I'm really interested in. I like the idea of free fighting in a gladiatorial situation where I can use all my tools and skills and see how I can solve the problems that are in front of me in a more combative situation. So, I think that I'm going to more so focus on that when I'm done with it. I think I'll be done with pretty much everything as far as competing.
Okay. And my last question is, who do you like this week, Dillashaw or Cejudo?
I like both of them. I think that Cejudo's going to be a pretty big problem because of the way he's going to mix up the wrestling.
Yeah.
But TJ's really good on the feet. I'm not too sure who's going to win. I wish them both the best. I'm pretty excited to watch the fight, though.
All right, brother. I wouldn't have faulted you if you said Cejudo because I know he's a Dominance MMA stablemate. So, but hey, I can appreciate the fact that you're just going to enjoy it like a fan and you'll give both guys their respect. So that's cool, too. Cannot wait to see what 2000. And I like those names you tossed out. Especially the Zach Cummings. He's been, so that one or whoever else they give you.
Thanks a lot.
Shout out from Dominance MMA for lining that one up. Eric Albarracin. I want to give a shout out myself.
Yeah.
I lined that one. Shout out to you. Okay. How are we looking on the break side?
One more.
One more. I think we should get that out of the way. When we come back, we'll cruise to the finish line, close up shop on a Thursday here, January 17th. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
Paid to be lame.
Enough, and I just assume everyone's got it. But in this new ESPN era, we're going to have new fans, and we have got you covered. We're the 5-time winners of the World MMA Awards. We don't play around over here. Our show specifically, almost 2,900 shows, been doing this for a long time, and we're at the Mandalay Bay. So if you ever find yourself in Las Vegas, come over here and say hello. 5 p.m. Pacific is when the show starts. Get here a little early. And if you let us know that you're coming, we'll do our best to have an MMA superstar here for you to meet. Just this past couple weeks, we've had Misha Tate, Curtis Millender, Mark Ratner, Al Iaquinta. I mean,
big names.
Yeah, hell yeah. So
some active, some retired.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Executives.
Correctamundo.
Having everything.
VPs, man. Misha's a VP, and so is Mark Ratner. Mark Ratner's the one that really put in a lot of time to get the UFC in New York. He told us he went to the capital of New York, which is Albany, about 30 times.
He is one of the inside and outside of the sport is like really one of the sweetest, just coolest guys ever.
He sure is. Kind of like JR. Remember JR, how cool he was?
Yeah, like I go to a lot of UNLV basketball games, and he'll make it. He'll come up into the stands and say hi and talk to you, and he'll do it to like 3 or 4 people, then go back. For people who don't know, he's one of the scorekeepers.
Right.
He
What
works
say,
the
30-some
clock.
years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
And he had an interesting answer. I don't know if you asked him pre-show, commercial, or if you shared it on the show. I'll say it again. You asked him about snafus or stories, and he says it's tough because a lot of times the referee or players can get in his way, you know, and so I think he's dodged most bullets. But I remember I've been to some MMA fights where I hear that 10-second clap, and it doesn't match the clock. Or I've heard them end the round, and that's just when they're giving the clap. So, I mean, I've heard, you know, different
I remember
variations.
one where it was a minute. I think we were calling that fight, right?
Yeah, and it was at the 4th minute, right, versus the 5th. Yeah. Can we say who that was?
Why not?
At this point, it was Chris Irwin. Remember him?
Oh, yeah.
The former owner of the
gun store.
The gun store. He kind of goofed once.
Okay.
We can laugh it off now.
Yeah.
I think he laughed it off. But, I mean, he was always staring, but all it takes is one slight distraction, and next thing you know, you're like, you got to be thinking, oh, fuck. I know it's happened in the UFC, too.
It's that want to get away moment.
It is that want to get away moment, yeah. Can you imagine if you, well, I guess the worst thing would be if the fight goes too long, and in those last couple seconds, like what if you found out that Demetrius Johnson, I guess it's no big deal because he was going to win anyway, but you know when he slapped that arm bar with like 1 second left, and that he holds the record for the submission. Wait, what is it? The latest possible submission.
Right.
Yeah, you know, I mean, technically it'd be a decision. It wouldn't be his. But, yeah, like something like that. Or where you had additional seconds on the clock and you came back and won. How about this? What if you were 5 seconds late in the Yair Rodriguez Korean Zombie fight? And that was on its way to being a Korean Zombie 4-1
What do you tell
win.
him?
I know. The trajectory, man. You know, Yair's going to get a big fight next. I don't know why we didn't bring him up when we were bringing up Volkanovski and Zabit them, but he's going to get a big fight next, and Korean Zombie is as well, but, you know, he could have been in that spot. So it's a very, very important position. And by the way, a lot of states are looking for scorekeepers. If you really want to immerse yourself in the sport, take a cue from some of our listeners. We have a friend named Aaron Menard, a listener of the show who used to call in and, you know, talk about mixed martial arts. Well, he wanted to get involved a little bit more. I think he was already dabbling with a little bit of coaching either the boys and girls or high school wrestling or something. And he'd call in and tell us about all that. And next thing you know, he took either Big John McCarthy's class or Herb Dean, but I think it's Big John's. And he started working his way up until we finally saw him on Access TV. We've seen him call not only just a fight on the main card, the main event. So it's been really, really cool to see that. He got some love from Chavello and Miletich, and you know, he's doing well for himself. Although I haven't heard much lately. Is he still doing it?
I think he's still doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. Wan Lee Tran, he took
Herb Dean's class,
and I believe he passed it, and he may be starting to do stuff like that too. That's awesome, man.
And Wan Lee did he receive his black belt, or is he still brown?
I think he's still brown.
Yeah, and then how about Rob Shaw, who used to call our show when we were Tag Radio, who started just training to learn a little bit of self-defense, get a little bit of cardio in, and next thing you know, he's one of the few black belts under Rafael Cordero in his Muay Thai system. I was there when they had a ceremony, and it was cool to see Coach Cordero and Gabby Garcia is also a black belt, and Renato Babalu Sobral. They were all standing there, and they were having the belt ceremony, and standing up with the other black belts was Rob Shaw. I was sitting there. I was so happy for that dude, man. That was cool. Really, really cool. Because I saw Rob get, I think, his purple or brown, and then years later, I saw him actually as a black belt.
What are you, stalking him? How were you there for those both moments? You live in Vegas.
Well, they were like years apart, for one. And
even crazier.
I think one of them I may have seen the video. Or, no, I saw him get a belt promotion. I don't know.
Oh.
No, I'm not a stalker, but, you know, when I go to SoCal, there was just, if there was an opportunity to hit up one of the gyms, I mean, that one's close. It's right down Warner. Santa Ana is, you know, Warner goes through Santa Ana and all the way to Huntington Beach. So
the mean streets of Santa Ana.
I'd pop into that one, and I popped into Mark Munoz's gym, Joker's back in the day,
Hey.
Tiki's Ultimate Fighting.
Joker Guyman.
Fitness gym. Hopefully I said that right. Holy cow. Out in Huntington Beach, same thing. But, yeah, that's what I try to do is make a little bit of time. You know where I really want to go? The Body Shop in L.A.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And then when I'm done there, I want to go to Antonio McKee's Body Shop. Nah. All the perverts.
Should spar with Cooney when you come to New York.
All the perverts know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think there's a Body Shop strip club out there in Long Beach. So
I would never spar with Cooney.
Hell no, I'm not sparring with Cooney.
Even when he like pretends to throw something at you.
I mean, if
you
leg
could
kicks
just
are
tell
allowed, I'll kick
jack
that
you up.
calf, that's for sure, and then run.
You know, hybrid rules. I like it.
I go for a night out with Jerry Cooney. That's for sure.
That sounds
Hybrid
like fun.
rules?
But
Would you do hybrid rules?
with Jerry Cooney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No way.
But I'd be kicking that
Can ask
calf
him tomorrow.
really, really hard.
But you're not even going to make it to him. That reach is so long.
Well, maybe, but I think I got a little bit of quickness in me.
All right.
You could tell him that too, Josh. Let me know if we have a problem.
You tell him tomorrow. I'm telling him to his face virtually, you know.
Tomorrow's going to be a fun show, guys. Tomorrow we have Paulie Malianagi visiting the studio. He'll be here, and then I'm working on one other guest as we wind down the week. And, of course, UFC on ESPN Plus 1 is this weekend. So, again, get that app for tablets, smartphones, or just straight up go to www.mmajunkie.com. We have great writers, videographers, editors, and they're kicking ass. All right, we're out of here. For Josh and Goes and Dan, I'm George. Go out there and be a champion.